question is, what might action in Syria, if it happens, look like this time? Remember last time we had unfathomable, atrocious video of Syria, of literally video that appeared to be children dying of a chemical weapons attack. And after that, we sent 59 Tomahawk missiles over to the area from which those were launched, and then there was no change. Now, according to the White House, the best evidence seemed to suggest that it's happened again. So what does the United States do now? And does the United States now have allies on board with the United States? When and in what method? I'm Shepard Smith on the Fox News deck. A big news day. President Trump condemning what he calls the heinous gas attack in Syria, saying he will make major decisions on how the United States will respond in the next day or two.
It was an atrocious attack. It was horrible. You don't see things like that, as bad as the news is around the world. You just don't see those images. We are studying that situation extremely closely. We are meeting with our military and everybody else, and we'll be making some major decisions over the next 24 to 48 hours. We are very concerned when a thing like that can happen. This is about humanity. We're talking about humanity. And it can't be allowed to happen.
Can't be allowed to happen. Similar tone from the president that was just before the last time there was some action. But what might it look like this time? The president went on to say all options are on the table, standard fare, ahead of his meeting with senior military leaders, which is happening tonight. Now, all of this comes less than a week after the president said he wanted U.S. troops out of Syria very soon, remember? The White House later said that the United States is committed to wiping out ISIS fighters who are still there before we pull out completely, but he still says soon. Over the weekend, opposition activists say that the Syrian government forces unleashed a poisonous gas attack on their own people. This is not Fox News video. Activists released this video that shows people hosing down each other with water. You can also see young children using inhalers, apparently to help them breathe. Local rescuers say dozens of people died, including women and children, and hundreds more were injured. I wish we could verify this as Fox News. We cannot verify this, but we offer it up to you with the greatest understanding that we have. First responders say they found entire families suffocating in their homes and in shelters. The Syrian Civil Defense White Helmets, which is a volunteer organization, released these images that will not show you, some of them, of lifeless bodies on the ground, some still foaming at the mouth. They are horrifying. The apparent attack happened in a rebel-held town. Remember, there are the rebels, whom the U.S. and others support, and then there's the government forces. This town is called Douma, an eastern suburb of the capital of Damascus. Syrian and Russian government officials deny any involvement. Remember, the Syrian government and the Russians work together with Iran. It's a proxy war, the United States versus Syria, Iran, and Russia. Russia and Iran are allies of the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, who has murdered hundreds of thousands, about 500,000 of his own people, according to estimates. President Trump called out the Russian President Vladimir Putin in a tweet using his name for the first time in like 140 days. And that, quote, animal Assad, as the president put it. He also warned of a big price to pay for the attack. So this most recent chemical assault comes a year after President Trump ordered dozens of missile strikes on a Syrian base, 59 Tomahawks, in retaliation for another gas attack on civilians. Russian and Syrian military officials say Israeli warplanes launched a missile attack earlier this morning at T4 Air Base. You heard the reporters trying to get something from Sarah Sanders about that. She couldn't talk about that. You can see it's north and east of where this weekend's attack happened. This Israeli strike reportedly killed 14 people, including 3 Iranians. Let's get a live look now. This is the United Nations. Our live camera's in there where an emergency meeting is underway at this moment. We'll bring you an update from the United Nations as it happens. As you can see, things are fluid. We have Team Fox coverage. Our national security correspondent, Jennifer Griffin, is at the Pentagon. First to the chief White House correspondent, John Roberts, who's there. Nothing decisive or definitive, but it certainly feels like there's something coming.
Well, you know, when we were right here about a year ago, Shep, there were some rumblings that there may be some sort of strike, and then we saw those 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles launched at that air base from which Syria perpetrated that dastardly chemical weapons attack last year. So it's possible that something similar to that is on a hot boil in the front burner here at the White House and over at the Pentagon. The White House pushing back against the notion that was floated by John McCain that the president talking in the last couple of weeks about bringing U.S. forces home somehow emboldened Bashar al-Assad to perpetrate this latest attack. Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying it's outrageous to think that the president somehow green-lighted what was going on. Russia, in the meantime, continues to insist that there was no evidence that chemical weapons were used in this attack against Duma. But the president this morning, in his cabinet meeting, together with the members of his cabinet, quite firm in saying that this was an attack using banned chemical weapons. Short time ago, I asked Sarah Huckabee Sanders why the president is so confident about that claim. Listen here. Russia insists that there is no evidence of chemical weapons. What makes the president so sure that he is willing to make such a declarative statement?
The president is confident. He's been briefed by his national security team and being kept up to date constantly and regularly on the intelligence around that. And I can't get any further beyond that.
Do we have any proof at this point that it was, in fact, a chemical weapon?
Once again, I can't get anything beyond the comments that we've already made, but we're very confident in those comments.
In that cabinet meeting, the president also making the point, well, Syria didn't do anything wrong. Why aren't they letting international observers in to determine that for themselves? Listen here.
It's very hard to get people in because not only has it been hit, it's been surrounded. And if they're innocent, why aren't they allowing people to go in and prove? Because, as you know, they're claiming they didn't make the attack. So if it's Russia, if it's Syria, if it's Iran, if it's all of them together, we'll figure it out, and we'll know the answers quite soon.
The president also pointing fingers at Vladimir Putin, as you pointed out at the top, Shep, saying that everybody will pay a price here, everybody who is involved in this. But the president also pointing fingers at the Obama administration for what happened, tweeting this morning, quote, if President Obama had crossed his stated red line in the sand, the Syrian disaster would have ended long ago. Animal Assad would have been history, which is quite different than what the president tweeted about that 5 years ago when he said, quote, the only reason President Obama wants to attack Syria is to save face over his very dumb red line statement. Do not attack Syria. Fix the USA. No word on what the president is going to order the military to do. We should point out that this is John Bolton's first day here as the national security advisor. He in the past has warned against military action in Syria, saying it doesn't benefit the United States. So, Shep, an open question as to where we'll go, but I think we could probably use last year as a model for what lies ahead.
John Roberts at the White House. John, thank you. So the president meeting with leaders tonight on the military front. Right now at the United Nations, a live emergency session is underway. We'll have reporting on that. Michael O'Hanlon from the Brookings Institution with the bigger question today, what to do about Syria. Will your allies in, let's say, France and beyond be there with you? And is it something more than just missiles? If so, what? Team Fox coverage continues right after this on America's Choice for News and Information.